Okay, now this again. So, the ultimate goal is liberation. And just want to remind you, liberation is fundamentally discovering the truth. This is something called skillful means. I don't know whether those who are new, you know this. Means, not the end. You know, the means are very challenging. You need means, skillful means. You need that means. But we have to just always remember that's not the end. But, this is always difficult to, many times we get attracted to the means, not the end. Like the great Zen master said, looking at the finger instead of the moon. So, similarly here, the liberation, the concept of liberation is painted in many, many different ways. One who is liberated is named as the Buddha. And we even have a description of what the Buddha looks like. The Buddhists say he looks amazing. But if you ask him, how? Tell us. Does it mean he has a six-packs? Broad shoulder, muscles, does he have that? Then we hear, to begin with, he's a golden color. Now, would you go to a date with someone who looks like gold? And then he has an antelope-like ankle. Anyway, in order to make the people have attraction towards liberation, so many these kind of color and, pictures are painted, and many times it works, but other times it becomes a distraction. If there is a Thai person here, a Burmese person here, it's better to speak to them. The Buddha looks very serene, begging bowl, bare feet, begging for alms every morning. It sounds nice. If you tell them a Buddha, if you depict how the Buddha looks like, say, many of you must have been to Parping. It's a very beautiful place called Parping. And that's supposedly one of the Buddha's place. And the Buddha is a Vajra Yogini. And it's not he, it's she. And sometimes this Vajra Yogini is Vajra Varahi, pig head. You don't want to say this to the Burmese. They will have a heart attack. What kind of Buddhists are these? Generally the world, especially Asia and maybe India, very patriarchal, gender difference. Buddha has to be man, not woman. Here again, I have to really express this. Always joyful to enter Kathmandu and filling up the immigration form. Gender, male, female, and other. It's so good, fantastic. Everybody must adopt this. It was particularly good yesterday when I arrived because I was just doing my Tara sadhana. So I was try to visualize myself as Tara, which is a female. And it's so nice to I almost click to fill up the other. But then I thought maybe I will not be entering here. So anyway, our aim is liberation. I will always come back to that. And liberation for now means discovering the truth. Now, first, Mrasam Jumeshara Paruchin, the Prajnaparamita, the truth, cannot be spoken, cannot be conceptualized, cannot be, fabricated. is beyond words, beyond language. But here, I have to be so careful, you have to pay some attention. When Buddhists talk about the truth that is inexpressible, we are not talking about an almighty sort of energy that cannot be taught. It's different. The Buddhist truth that cannot be expressed can be pointed out if you have the right person, and if you are the right person, he or she can point out and you can get the job done like this. You understand? So it's not like some sort of a mysterious being that cannot be talked about. This is so important, so important, you should tattoo it on your skin or something. You know, the New Age concepts have destroyed Buddhism 10,000 times more than the Cultural Revolution. It's energy, sort of, like inexpressible stuff. We are not talking about that. We are talking about something so raw, something so there, here, now, that can be introduced. And there is technique that we can apply, and there are guys in this country, well, definitely in the past, just a very near past, actually, I have myself received many of these instructions from these great people who have the know-how to introduce this. And if you happen to meet some of these people, and if he or she has managed to do this, and if you can actually pay some attention, and if you clicked, your dimension will change. The way you look at things will change, at least on a superficial level, and that's already very, very good. You will have a shift. A shift. I can't think of a good example. I'll give you a bad example. Like someone told you, a husband that you have married 30 years, and someone told you, hey, your husband, every full moon night, tail grows from his bottom. You will have a shift towards how you look at your husband, isn't it? From now on. Every full moon, especially, you would like to sort of wait and see. And every bulging, you will doubt, maybe this is it. You know what I'm talking about? A shift. Shift. Truth can be introduced. For a very, very remote villager, Nepali or a Bhutanese, don't know what is chopstick, you give it to them. Look, this is to use to eat. That's it. From then on, that Bhutanese or the Nepali remote villager, until then they may think it's a twig to kindling to make fire. But all that concept is gone. From then on, two sticks are seen as a chopstick. Liberation. You understand? Okay? So, the truth, if you have the right condition, right teacher, everything, it can be introduced without using the words, language, examples. None of this is necessary. But you have to be very open. Also, of course. Okay, so let's see, you and I, we don't have that kind of faculty, let's say. So for us, we need to speak. Logic, we need to. So we need to construct a certain framework to establish this view. We call it Tawa Tenla Babi Kap. We need to establish the view. So this is what is going to happen. And the view, and especially the view that Buddha really, really meant it, okay, is what we are going to do next 5 days. And if you are, simply if you are asking what are we doing here, we are learning Buddhist view. And knowing the view, one that knows the view is what we call wisdom. View. I cannot emphasize enough. View is the most important. It is the view that differentiates the different religion. religions are same. People say this. It's a total bullshit. All religions are not same. Probably, superficially, there are similarities. Buddhists will say, don't steal. I'm sure the Christians will say, Muslims will say, Hindus will say, but where it is rooted, the view makes everything different. This is important. Huh? The view is, I cannot emphasize this enough. You know, there's so many misunderstandings, especially, you know, every time when I watched like BBC, you know, like so panel discussions, in the supposedly scholars, all religions are violent. Not true. For instance, like Buddhism and Jainism, there is no reason to be violent. The big boss of Buddhism is the Buddha, who left everything, wife, children, palace, everything, and left. What is the reason to be violent for? Of course, Buddhists are not necessarily perfect. Like me here, I'm a very good example. So, the view is one that differentiates the religion. Not love and compassion, not some, you know, like nice behaviors. If you lost the view, let's say in the Mahayana, Prajnaparamita, if you lost this, you have lost Buddhism as a Buddhist. Okay. In the Mahayana, they have these categories, such as generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, and concentration, or the meditation, or the samadhi. But the wisdom, without the wisdom, all the others are totally useless. Without the wisdom, all the sort of disciplines, practices, are mere tool to bind ourselves in this delusion again and again. Trying to think of at least, begin the text a little bit. Okay. Having prepared a little bit with all the way the Buddhist, Indian Buddhist think, I guess we can try to sort of get into the text. Okay. The setting is kind of an important. Okay, first of all, we should consider this was a summit, a conference, and both attended by both Sarvakayana, members of the Sarvakayana, and the Mahayana, Mahayana members. The summit was held in a place called Rajgir, and Magadha, which is where Rajgir is actually quite an important place for Buddhism, because the king of the Magadha was a big patron, and the king probably sponsored this summit, this conference. And The purpose of the summit, what is it for? Of course, world peace, always, isn't it? And I'm not joking, by the way. It's meant for this. It's not really a summit. Is not meant. Summit was not gathered there to check whether the crows have the truth or not. Teeth, crows have teeth or not. It's not this kind of scientific, specific scientific research. What does the deers eat? Stuff like that. It's nothing to do with it. So really going to the root. What is it necessary to make us happy? And what is the root of all the suffering? Going right down to that. And the chief guest, I guess, is the Shakyamuni himself. The main speaker, the main guy, who, by the way, decided to not speak at all until the last minute. Shakyamuni was in Samanawani Tingizin. He was in this deep samadhi called all-illuminating, sort of Samanawani Tingizin. I can already imagine what you are imagining. I'm sure you are thinking, so Shakyamuni Buddha sitting like this. Isn't it? This is what you are thinking. I'm very sure. Because the word samadhi is mentioned. Samadhi means zafu, sitting straight, breathing normally. Everything that is taught in Aman Resort. Of course, we never know. Maybe the all-illuminating, that samadhi could be done by Shakyamuni, going through the watermelon, papaya, orange. We never know. Could be. Not think, he's not meditating, he's looking at the papaya, he's looking at the whatever. Anyway, Shakyamuni was in the samadhi of all eliminating. And then the next word is absolutely important. Oh, not the next after. Okay, the next after is, there were illustrious, guests, or guests is not, the attendees, the participants of the conference. They were great people like Avalokiteshvara, like Shari Putra. All of them are there. This is important. I'm mixing up everywhere. I'm going back and forth. Okay. Among the attendees, among the participants, there were ghosts. Very important, we need to make note. Every time we forget this. Very important member of the participants. Nagas with their snakes. I don't know how the coiling somewhere sitting, who knows? Imagine the conference, the gods, the demigods, the ghosts, the Nagas, Gandharvas, who have different needs, who don't eat or, they can't have a banquet like a normal conference, you understand, during their, they come from different places. They speak different language, they're all there. That's important that we know. And somewhere there, Avalokiteshvara was also in the state, looking, I don't know how to put this, meditating on emptiness, let's call it, out of lack of choice of words, meditating on emptiness. Again, does not mean that he's sitting there like this. Otherwise, Shari Putra will say, hey, I have a question to ask you. Shari Putra is not that rude. Avalokiteshvara may be roaming around, I don't know. Just completely normal. Nothing to do with emptiness, like closing eyes, staring, gazing, none of that. It indicates, the sutra indicates, because the next minute we have Shari Putra asking a question to him. Yes. Now, this is the most important. The second most important, I was going to tell you. Sangjeji tu tsarangdamba Shari Putra. The curiosity of Shari Putra is the blessing of the Buddha. This is so important. The curiosity, priceless curiosity, goodness. If you can imagine, Shari Putra's curiosity give birth 200,000 verses, 20,000 verses, 8,000 verses, and this. It's so amazing, isn't it? That curiosity. Actually, you and I are also have a share in that, because it is our merit that Shari Putra had that curiosity. Anyway, out of lack of choice of words again, we say Sanjiji too, but by the blessing of the Buddha, Shari Putra asked. So, I don't know, I'm like, he must have asked Avalokiteshvara. So, how to go about this Prajnaparamita. And then Avalokiteshvara gave these lengthy answers. And this is what we are going to study. But to do that, now we need to again prepare with the words called truth. And I think you have already heard too much from me blabbering this morning. You are not fresh. You will not pay attention properly. So I'm not going to speak about the truth today. I'm going to let you ask questions first. We will begin this with tomorrow. Okay? So, okay. To make our gathering worthwhile, we will also meditate a little bit. So, I guess, yeah. So, ask me a few questions and then we will do a little bit of meditation. Anyway, I'll be talking about meditation. So please ask me some questions and try to relate to the text if possible. And please don't ask me any Vajrayana related questions. Try. Do you have questions? If you don't, that's also fine. And please come to the mic, I think.
I think that Mipam Rinpoche says that both the third turning and the second turning are definitive meaning. However, in the Samdi Nimochana Sutra, unless I am mistaken, it says that when the second turning teachings say, for example, there is no form and so on and so forth, this is provisional.
Yes.
So how can both be definitive if in the third turning it says one is provisional? How is this reconciled?
This is a very academic question, and as I said earlier, the distinction between the Ngedun and Tangdun is quite difficult. Okay, so I will take this question and that question. Is there one more? Okay, two more. I think that's enough for today because this is going to take some time. So yes, please wait, I will answer you. But first, I need to tell you this. The distinctions is really so much on the follower, the disciples, a lot. Okay, one, this is how we distinguish. Any kind of teachings that he did not really meant always have what we call which means it can be deconstructed. The teaching itself can be deconstructed. Such as when he said, once upon a time when I was a bird. So he is talking about having some sort of a self, I, and then also the past life, so on and so forth. That kind of statement can be deconstructed. So any teachings or a statement that can be deconstructed is usually considered as a teachings that he did not really meant it. Now, as we discuss this more and more deeper level, things get really complicated. I mean, before we go to the Mipam Rinpoche, which is now you are talking in Tibet, even before that, in India, there was already an argument between for instance, like the Chittamata school and the Madhyamika school. In Tibet, the great patrons of Tibet and the translators of Tibet and the practitioners of Tibet adopted with us. They really loved Madhyamika and especially Prasangika Madhyamika. And the judging from you mentioning about Mipham Rinpoche, I can tell you are brainwashers are basically Tibetans. Now, to be really more, if we try to be more sober, actually, when we say Madhyamika and the Prasangika Madhyamika are the best, this is only few of us talking, by the way. Yes, Tibetans tend to do that. Oh, they're the best, and everybody who is sort of colorful and illustrious people, they try to sort of make them into Prasangika Madhyamikan. The Tibetans even think that Asanga is a Prasangika Madhyamikan. Don't forget, Chitamata is way, way, way bigger, larger in population than Madhyamikan. Whole China, Buddhism. I mean, even today, half of the Buddhist population is in China. China had several hundred years before, Buddhism of China is several hundred years before Tibet. We cannot ignore that fact. Now, I just want to throw this into you by saying that, this distinction is difficult. Yes, obviously, Mipham Rinpoche, belonging to the Nyingma, I would say, hardcore Nyingma, he would say this, what you just said. For instance, Mipham Rinpoche, I've kind of forgotten this, but Mipham Rinpoche would say, Uttara Tantra Shastra is a commentary of direct teaching. Really meant it, Uttara Tantra. A Sakyapas will say, oh, no, wait. Sakyapas. Gorampa will say, wait, because in the Uttara Tantra, Maitreya is talking about the self, the eternity, the clean, non-changing. Wow, we have to be careful with this because this looks a bit like a Hindu's Atman. Let's try to tone it down. Let's say this is a teaching that requires interpretation. Anyway, finally, to answer your question, because it depends so much on the hearer, both can be, Ngedan, or the teaching that does not require interpretation. Okay, do you want to ask the question?
Yes, thank you, Rinpoche. And my question is about, you said before, without wisdom, there is no compassion, and compassion is relative. But however, because I've heard some countries, they use the concept of wisdom to encourage soldiers to kill people. So also I've heard other teachings, like the wisdom, without compassion, there is no wisdom. And the wisdom is the non-dual of compassion and wisdom. So I think, what is this about? And also that leads me to another question is, if the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, they already go beyond the division of subject, object, and they already realize the emptiness, which is go beyond the four extremes, then how they act to benefit beings, and why they even why they even benefit beings.
Okay.
Thanks.
The first one I already forgot. Can you tell me that again?
Okay, so what's the non-dual of compassion and wisdom?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I've heard without compassion there would be no wisdom.
Yeah, but there, you okay. Buddhists talk about three kinds of compassion. And the most important compassion is called Mikpa Mepi Nyingje, which is basically the wisdom. Yeah. I mean, we use a lot of these kind of words, and not even that, symbols. Symbolic. If you talk to a Tibetan tantric practitioners, what is Vajra? They will say, this is wisdom. Yeah. Of course not. This is metal made in Patan. But he can say that because partially it's true, because it symbolizes. Hold on to your two questions. It's very important questions. Can you hold on to that question until tomorrow? Because it requires much longer answer. I will. Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Rinpoche, can you please explain how or why Shari Putra's curiosity arose due to the blessing of the Buddha and not just by itself, or why other people weren't curious?
Wow, such a big question, that one. I don't know. These are really good questions, really good questions. Okay, now this is where the first person who's asking the question, this is kind of important, the Mipham Rinpoche and all of that. Okay, Sanjiji too, by the blessing of the Buddha, such an important statement. Because in the Mahayana Buddhism, actually in all Buddhism, especially Mahayana Buddhism, Buddha is never outside. If you ask Mahayana people, who is that Buddha who was born in Lumbini? They will say, Tsul Tsamtan. Basically means he pretended. So for someone like Ananda, he was the Buddha. For Devadatta, he was not. The real Buddha is the Buddha nature that we have. And the Buddha nature, because we have this Buddha nature, we do feel awkward sometimes. Yes, most of the time we get annoyed when the carpet is stained by coffee, when the bank balance is low, when your colleague is grumpy. I don't know, most of the time, But other times, even everything is perfect. There's some sort of a, empty feeling, sort of, awkwardness. Is this all there is? Life? Isn't there something more important? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is this all? The curiosity is kicking. Now, this is because there's something called Buddha nature. So it could be, is this Buddha nature, is blessing of this Buddha nature, and there's also the Shakyamuni Buddha who's in the illuminating, samadhi, remember? Because he's the disciple, so there's also the reflection of that. So the both blessing comes together and the curiosity happens. And by the way, this I'm using a different commentary. The Prajnaparamita can have many different commentary. One is very, very, very uttara. One is very, very Yogacharya way. Like what I've just told you, for instance, talks about Buddha nature a lot. Sorry, it's too long. Okay, can you three wait until tomorrow? Okay, good. Please wait till tomorrow. Okay, we will now I will now talk a little bit about meditation to make this day worthwhile. Okay, what is the most important thing that we need to do? Realize the truth. Remember, that's the only thing we care. It's very important. We are not going to do meditation so that we will be more relaxed, so that we will have a better sleep. We are not going to do meditation so that we will have a better management. We are not also going to do meditation so that we will have better leadership. None of this matters. What do we need? We need to see the truth. Okay, what is the main opposition to see your truth? What is it that is always stopping you to see the truth? And there's many ways to put it, but I'm going to use a different way here. Each religion has their own Satan, by the way. Bad guy. Buddhists also have. Buddhist Satan is, this distraction. What stops you to see the truth? Getting distracted. Okay, put it another way, having a habit, habitual patterns. What is feeding the habit? Getting distracted. So, we should now have economy embargo on this. It's like, okay, this is what you want, the truth, right? What is stopping you? The habit. Who is feeding the habit? Distraction. So now we need to, sterilize the truth. Sterilize the distractions here. That's important that you know. That's the principle of so-called meditation. Every day we are going to talk a little bit. Okay. So, this time let's do this, because I want, because I want to sort of really tell you the richness of Buddhist skillful means. Today, we will just, let's look at things, look at the back of somebody's neck, or flowers, whatever. Just be aware of that. Actually, if you can, be aware that you are doing that. Did you do it? Did you do it? Please don't sit. Don't sit straight, please. Really, it's so disheartening, because I'm a Buddhist jihadi, by the way. And every time when we talk about meditation, such a poverty mentality. This is the only way? No, told you before. Do whatever you want. Scratch, yawn, do whatever you want. And just know that. Cough, get confused. Did you do that? That's it. You have done meditation. I'm telling you. You have to trust this. You have done it. Yes, it is short. But that's not wrong. Just be aware of whatever is happening right now. Whatever. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you this. Don't think that I'm teaching you Dzogchen or Mahamudra or none. Don't think that. I'm not qualified. I can't possibly, do in this kind of setting. Yeah. Otherwise, Nepal is full of dakinis who will just, shrink me to death. So I'm smart enough not to do this. Every time when someone say, just know whatever is happening now, people see, oh, he's teaching Dzogchen. All the Buddha's teachings, from the Sharvakayana to the Ati Yoga, there's not a single time where he taught, oh, dwell in the past, or dwell in the future. None. So just because he say, don't dwell in the past, don't dwell in the future, does not make something Dzogchen or Mahamudra. So please, don't you dare to say the Rinpoche taught Dzogchen. You haven't been taught by me today, Mahasandhi. You need to know this. Kiwi. Okay, anyway, so just knowing whatever is happening. Did you do that? If you have done it, you should consider you have done a good meditation. Now, don't think that you have to sort of stretch it for 24 hours. Think of that at the moment. Why this is so important? Because at that moment, when you are just conscious of whatever you are doing, at that very split moment, you are not distracted. And that very small moment when you are not distracted, if you have managed to do that, it has weakened the habit a little bit. I think it's a bit like this watch that moves itself with a movement, then it sort of, does it still exist?
Yes.
If you don't move it at all, it stops, right? More you move, more it recharges, so to speak. Habit gets charged by distraction. And the less you have habit, more chance to see the truth. We will talk about that more. We talked a lot today, so I think we should stop here today. And we will continue Prajnaparamita. And you can do this knowing whatever you are doing as your practice. And I will try to connect between the technique I gave you with the Prajnaparamita. And anyway, all of this It's all in the classic Buddhist texts. I haven't made up anything. This is all credit to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and my teachers. And next 4 days also, I'm going to talk a little bit about. This has been sort of my new sort of recent sort of passion. I haven't found a right sort of title for this yet. Right now I'm using teachings or techniques for bad Buddhists. I'm sure many of you are not diligent. I'm sure many of you will drink and go to casinos and do all sorts of strange things that I can't even think of. But you can still be Buddhist. And I think that's so, so important. I want to see Buddhists on Harley Davidson with the tattoos, with a very tight, leather jackets. I like them because I think it's so denigrating and so, so sad to always hear, oh, Buddhist, vegetarian, non-violent, monk, cave, retreat. All those things are dwindling the population of Buddhism. So next few days, I'm also going to promote this a little bit. So for those who don't want to hear this kind of thing, you should have a nice earplug.
Thank you, Rinpoche.